What is up, guys? In today's video, I'm going to be teaching you how to make some of these. So stick right there and we will begin. Make it easy. Alright, so get a rock that already looks like something. For example, this rock already kind of looked like a lizard. The top part of it conveyed lizard to me, so I made a lizard out of it. And this guy, the rock is layered and has a tail that a layer that goes underneath the rock, which can easily convey a tail. And that being said, this position is probably the easiest to draw any animal on a rock. It is in a little curled ball, because rocks are already round and this nigga round. One thing is you don't want to pick up the first rock you see. You want to get a good selection, study each of them, try to make sure that the good ones don't get past you. When judging rocks, you want to let them lay flat. Don't put it up like this so it's gonna fall down. Lay it flat, the most stable way. If you, for example, can find a way to get this rock to sit like this stably, which I can't, then paint it that way. But you want to be able the rock to stand by itself. And you want to paint the animal in the same direction as a rock. If you have a rock like this, you want to paint the animals with the head right here, body down. Don't make it look like, don't have it like this and then have an upside down lizard on it. It just won't look good. For example, this rock can sit like this. This one's the one we're going to be working on today. I'm going to make this one into a beaver. So once you got your rock, determined what you're going to make it into, determined what it would be best made into, then we can start sketching it out. Alright, so this is what we're working on today. If you can see, this rock already pretty much looks like a beaver. You can see the nose up here, body, and the tail coming around that he's sitting on. Now this rock isn't a unique rock. I just found it literally in my front yard. I had to dig it up actually, this one. But it pretty much does look like a beaver already. What you want to go for is do your best to make it so all you have to do is add color to it and it will look like the animal. The more you try to turn a stone that doesn't look like anything into an animal, the less it's gonna look like it. For example, I tried to make this fox and it didn't come out the way that I wanted it to, and it's only half done, but it just wasn't vibing the way I felt, and I knew it was because the stone itself did not have enough to it. So once you get a good stone, get a lot of stones, you gotta get a good stone, that's the first thing. Then we can start sketching on this rock. So get a pencil. A thicker wooden pencil would probably work good for this, but all I have is shitty mechanical ones, so you wanna sketch all the details you see. That's kind of where the foot would be, hip area, back, and then the tail. And don't worry about marking this thing, it's not like it's anything special. And when sketching out the animal, you want to use reference pictures. Don't not use reference pictures, okay? The more references you use, the better it's gonna look. Draw the nose, see, nose is gonna be around there. Eye is probably gonna be around there. You don't have to make these very dark, they're just guidelines. And probably the less dark you make them, the better off you are. Now I use all kinds of paints, but the ones I think work the best are these. They're modeling paints. You can get them at Hobby Lobby. They don't look like this from Hobby Lobby, they look like this. Let me get my thing. This is what they look like from Hobby Lobby. Like that. And made by the same company, so what they do is they're what it is, like auto flattening or something like that, which means that they don't like build on each other in layers. So you're actually going to be able to see the definition of the rock through your painting, because it's not going to be caked to shit. Anyways, really you don't need it. It works better, but you definitely do not need it. You could go to Walmart and just go get some like cheap acrylic paint. It's not going to make a difference. And especially if you're just practicing, you're probably better off doing that. Oh my gosh, look at that freaking thing. You're scary, man. Now after you defeated all of the mythical beasts inside of your bedroom, we're ready to start painting. Alright, so we're gonna start by covering everything we think looks like an animal with black. I'll be back. You don't need to see that.
So this is it so far. You can almost already see that beaver showing up. Once you got all that black on there, it doesn't need to be caked on. Just needs to be a nice base coat. You don't even need to make sure you cover the rock fully, because you're going to be adding more colors to this guy. So now, this is what takes a little bit of artistic flavor. You want to slowly start adding colors until you start revealing the animal. That's what happens with this stuff. You don't want to add too much and have to take off. You want to slowly add color. You don't want to cake on color and then have to take it off and have to put more. You want to work slowly and diligently, studying your references, studying colors, and transferring that onto this guy.
You want to work darkest to lightest.
Take some intuition to kind of figure out where you want to do highlights and such, but if you believe in yourself, you can do it.
So now that you're actually starting to put some paint on this baby and you already have it primed black, you want to study some pictures of your animal and get the colors which you think would help, which you think would make up the animal. So I got these three because if you study a beaver, kind of like their undercoat is more really dark, and then as it comes out, it starts to get brighter. So I'll do with this one, which is a black brown, and then I'll follow up with this guy, which is, if you look at beavers, they're almost reddish. So I picked a rust color, which these are modeling paints made by Vallejo. So they are meant to be used on like model tanks and such, but they work perfect for this. And then I have this guy for the last one, which is a tan, which I may or may not use, because I also have a white, which I will use at the very end for highlights. I use this, which is called a wet palette. It kind of looks like baby shit. It's a paper towel soaked in water. Then you put wax paper, which is actually supposed to be parchment paper, but I don't have parchment paper, so I just use wax paper, which isn't the best because it gets soaked. Parchment paper is waterproof. They both work. They keep your acrylics wet as you work with them. You do not want your acrylics just dry out. That's a way to waste a lot of paint. And if you're working over a long period of time, you definitely want to keep your paints wet. You can maybe even do this with oil paints. Now, get some pictures of a beaver. Pay attention to the fur of your subject. Proportions and colors will convey the animal better than little details. Work darkest to lightest. And where you see the deepest shadows, you want to leave black. Everything else can get a coat of your new color. Now I'm going to mix this lighter, almost orange color with the brown to make a color in the middle, and then I'm going to work with that color. Leaving something like this out to dry and then working on it would probably be beneficial. Top of the thing, you want to keep lighter colors, bottom darker. What I do is, I don't know if it would work for you, but I actually like to blur my eyes a little bit, kind of see what the whole thing looks at once, because if I keep my eyes in focus, I harp on too many details. If you work on one thing too much, there's no harmony in the piece. So you need that harmony. It's balancing it. Now I'm going in with the desert tan, looking at places where beavers are tan and coloring it in. Beavers tend to have pretty tan cheeks. I don't know if you tell what I'm doing, but it is slowly getting there. Use highlights and shading to convey the shape of your animal. Now you have the darker colors down, you want to start working on the brighter colors. It'll help to let this guy dry for a little bit so it doesn't all mush together. This is basically the undercoat of the actual beaver. It's the dark browns, but when you look at a beaver, it looks tan. But that tan is only on the tips of his fur. You have to do that last. Now that this is pretty dry, you're going to start almost drawing each little strand of fur. The more precise, the better it looks. I sometimes wipe it off with my thumb if I put too much on. If it's still wet, I can pull it back off. Alright, I'll get back to you when all the fur's done. So now that we got all those little tan strokes of fur on there, this is when you can kind of start getting a little bit loose and seeing what you think can make the rock look more like an animal. It's a good basis to start off of to do this system and then to figure out what you can do to make it look like it. So now you just keep on working at it. You could go back to darks, go back to lights until you get everything perfect. See? It's starting to look like a beaver. Now, I have not dipped back into blacks and whites yet for a reason. It's because once you get to a section where you think it's actually starting to look good, you can introduce blacks and whites back into it and it'll push that even further. It'll bump up the contrast, honestly, on your whole piece. There's some white. And it's not black, but it's close enough to black. Because I don't have black. There we go. Now keep on doing exactly what you were doing. You want to use the whites to highlight the edge of the hairs, and you want to use the blacks to really get where you want those shadows. See, this is after adding blacks. As you can see, I shaded underneath the chin, shaded over here, kind of shaded over here. It's starting to really bring out aspects of this beaver. You have to use shading in order to really bring out the limbs and stuff. Because obviously, the rock you're working with isn't going to be exactly the shape of that animal. But it can be close. But you really have to work on that shading if you want to convey realism. So now that we got all those blacks in there, looking the way that I like it, now we can add some really light white highlights. I'll have a nice clean brush. This white will really bring out so much out of this picture. Just for an example, let me show you something. So, you see this guy's eye? Looks pretty dead. Let's add a dot and a little bit of one of those. Maybe one of these. Look at that. It looks so much more like an eyeball. Let's make his nose a little wet. Oh my gosh. It's Mess with these furs on his ear. Make that look good. What? See? It's magic. Be conservative with it. Don't add them wherever you want. You want to add them in places where they will help convey the different shapes of that animal. You don't want, for example, this ear. I'll highlight actually around that whole ear, because you don't want that ear to flow into the body. You want to break it. You want to have that break, so the person who's looking at this can actually tell that that ear is not part of that body. See, down here it's kind of getting mushy. It's like, where's that hand? I don't know. Maybe we could add some highlights to kind of convey a hand. We know that nails are shiny, so they will have a nice highlight on them. Let's see if we can get a highlight on some nails down here. Oh, there's the hand. What do you think about that? That is looking gorgeous. Alright, so this isn't the most easiest thing to do, but work at it slowly, use these steps, and I know that last step can be pretty hard, or the last couple steps, or really all of them, but man, if I'm not excited about how this came out, I love it. And you can have one too. But I don't recommend doing something like this at first. I definitely recommend going the route of a nice balled up animal. That's usually the easiest shape. So get out there. Remember, pick up a lot of rocks and study all of them. Look at them all different ways. All right, well, peace out.